At this point, I would like to welcome Michelle for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to our witnesses. Extremely powerful testimony. To call this a crisis is an understatement, and the connection between each of your testimonies is profound. Kate, I know you wanted to finish and say a few more things, but what jumped off the page of me, what you said, above all of the horrific things, calling it alleged, and you have all of those photos of your assault, publicly and personally rewarded for it. Those are your words of your attacker. Can you expand on what you mean by that legally in Canada?
Thank you for the question. Abusers don't think in the same way that the average person does, and which is why they are able to commit the offenses that you or I wouldn't commit. Abusers get off on the reward of being allowed to commit these offenses. I have video taken of my ex and his enjoyment of what he did to me, and knowing that the government said, well, this isn't a big deal. And I will quote the Crown Attorney, "We don't have time for this." So he is publicly rewarded because he feels like he is above the law. He is personally rewarded because he is 6'3" and 250 pounds. He can push me around no matter if I had a black belt or otherwise. He has a son who is in his care, and this was overlooked. There is an open case with CPS. Nothing was done. The federal ombudsman person has called on our behalf. Nothing was done. So his rewards are he gets to operate however he chooses to. There are no consequences for his actions, and I guarantee you if he is not stopped, he will be a part of the homicide statistics. He will kill someone. He came damn close to it with me on this day.
The irony of it being on this day, and then your testimony today, and I know you flew a long way to testify here today, and I know your parents are also here, and I think one of the things that we don't address is the impact on families and children as well, and I know Deputy Chief talked about this, and I guess what I'm trying to get at the heart of this in this meeting is what changes do we have to do? And you were poignant in saying you have a Canadian passport, but you don't feel safe in this country. And I guess, you know, we have a letter from the premiers, all premiers across this country, asking for bail reform. And, you know, you're saying you don't feel safe. It's a publication ban without consent. And to Deputy Chief's point, you have a blatant disregard. So you can see the connection between Kate's testimony and the Deputy Chief's testimony. So if I could go to the Deputy Chief and say, what needs to be done federally? And to Ms. Walker's point, if the money was being spent the way that it's saying it's being spent, we wouldn't see an increase. We would see a decrease. And yet we have the worst numbers we've ever seen. So if I could get the Deputy Chief on record saying what needs to be done, do you agree with this bail reform letter that the premiers have signed? And how much of this can be reversed in policy federally?
Let me first say, really appreciate the question, and I really want to commend everybody that has come here during this meeting, particularly survivors that are sharing their stories. You know, I do agree with the need to create some change, and, you know, the question was very direct, what can be done? And the answer is going to be also very direct and very simple. What we need to begin doing is reprioritize the consideration for victims and survivors in a way that allows them to feel safe in their communities. And at its most basic, we've heard testimony today, and I've spoken to survivors myself, had multiple conversations of people who unfortunately have been targeted or who have experienced similar scenarios. And the reality is they don't feel safe and they don't feel supported by our current system. And so, when a person does build up the courage to notify police who's supposed to protect them, we go and we arrest that person and we charge them. And the idea is that results in that person no longer being a threat. The reality is, from the statistics we've seen and like currently what we're experiencing, is it's quite probable that that person will continue to be a threat to the survivor or the person who's built up the courage in order to engage police.
Chair, I would like to move a motion. And the reason I'm moving a motion is because in this committee, we've respected each other. There are very important issues that we have said we've adjourned debate.
Is the most
And I
important
would like
issue
to
we can
resume
address.
Debate, and I'm hoping that the committee could vote quickly on this motion, hopefully unanimously, so that we can quickly go back to the study, the witnesses that we have today. If we vote right away, it'll only take 5 minutes. But I would like to resume debate on the motion that we adjourned debate on May 13th, 2022. And the motion reads that the Standing Committee on the Status of Women report to the House that A, access and availability to reproductive health services, no matter where one lives in Canada, including safe and legal abortion, is a charter right and is ensured under the Canada Health Act. And B, the decision to have an abortion made by women, transgender, and non-binary individuals for any reason is their freedom of choice and theirs alone. So, Madam Chair, we have refrained from putting motions like this because of collegiality, but at this moment, we're not, and I hope we can do a vote immediately on this motion, and therefore we can get back to our witnesses right away, and we'll only lose 5 minutes in this meeting. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so at this point, we'll resume debate on your motion. Michelle.
Thanks. So,
Sorry. Madam Chair, I'd like to speak on the motion.
Okay, I'll add your name to the speaking list.
thank you, Madam Chair. So what people are watching at home right now is we have a debate on the floor. We've called an emergency meeting because Stats Canada released shocking statistics. We've seen an increase 75% in sexual assault since 2015. Total sexual violations against children up 119%.
Point of order, Madam Chair. Point of order, Madam Chair. Miss Gazan hai.
Hear you, Sonia.
Can I speak?
Yes.
Miss Gazan had her hand up and wanted to speak first. She indicated early that she wants to speak, and the chance is not given to her. Can she speak first?
I've currently given the chair to MP Ferrari. I've noticed that MP Gazan has her hand up, and I acknowledge that she'll have the floor next.
Point
Thank
of
you.
order, Chair. Point of order, Chair.
Certainly.
I had my hand up before. In the history of this committee, we have done things in fairness. I am devastated by the way this meeting is being handled today. I would like us to be collegial. I had my hand up. I would like that to be recognized. This is a very, very harmful meeting for everybody, and I would like my hand to be recognized. With all due respect, Chair. Thank you.
In absolute fairness, I did not see your hand. I now have, once it was acknowledged, and I'll have you on the floor as soon as Michelle is finished.
Madam Chair, I had my hand up. It was, with all due fairness, point of order. I had my hand up. I was told that I had to wait till after the vote. It was acknowledged by you. Everybody saw it in the committee. I would like my turn to speak now, Madam Chair, with all due respect. Thank you.
I did acknowledge your hand during the vote with reference to this debate. I did acknowledge Michelle first, and you will speak second. Thank you.
Point of order, Madam Chair. We all saw that Miss Gazan has hand up even before vote, after vote, and everyone saw that. And please be fair with her.
Indeed, I am being fair. I saw and acknowledged her hand up during the vote. I needn't explain myself. What will happen is Michelle will speak, and then as soon as she is finished, then Madame Gazan will happily have the floor.
Point of order, Chair. Point of order, Chair. As somebody who has spent their life fighting around issues around violence against women, I find this deeply troubling that my hand was up. It is not being acknowledged. We are talking about a committee where we're supposed to behave in a democratic manner. Certainly, the Canadian public expects us to behave in a democratic manner. And I would like my turn to speak with all due respect, Chair, that we follow rules, as has always happened in this committee, certainly under our former chair, who has indicated she is not running. I would like my opportunity to speak. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Gazan. I own and I acknowledge that I saw your hand during the vote. At that point, once the debate started, I did pass the floor to MP Ferrari. As soon as she is done, the floor will return to you.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
On the same point of order?
Point of order.
Leah?
As the fact that there's not even an Indigenous person on the panel today, when we are experiencing the highest rates of violence, did not get a chance to put in witnesses, when we just convicted a serial killer in my community for killing 4 women, is deeply troubling to me. Now the fact that my voice is being silenced in the committee after not having an opportunity to put in witnesses is deeply offensive, deeply violent, and deeply troubling. I had my hand up. I would like an opportunity to interject, Madam Chair, with all due respect. Thank you.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I would just like to say that I'm in the room, and I saw Leah's hand go up before Michelle indicated that she wanted to speak.
With all due respect, had we just continued on, we would have had both of you speak by now with the time we've allowed for this conversation. I do understand completely, Leah, your frustration, and my sense of fairness is not being tested here. I saw your hand, and at this point, Ms. Ferrari has the floor.
Point of order.
Who's doing?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would like to challenge your ruling. I see you've made your ruling, but I disagree with it. So I'd like to challenge the ruling of the chair at this time.
So then we go to a vote. Okay, so at this point, if I have a challenge to the chair, then we go to a vote to direct how we would like to proceed.